Question 52 gives us an extract from a statement of cash flows which has already been prepared, giving us the total figures for each of the three key sections of that cash flow, totaling down to a net cash flow for the year, which then reconciles with the cash and cash equivalents at the start of the year, down to the cash and cash equivalents at the end of the year. This question is really an interpretation style question and asks us, based on the information provided, which one of these following statements would be a reasonable conclusion about the financial adaptability of this company for the year to December X1. So the first is that QW is in a decline as there is significant cash outflow in investing activities. So if we just have a look at our cash flows from investing activities, there is indeed a significant outflow. However, investing is exactly that. And what that would suggest to me is that the company is actually taking surplus funds and investing it with the expectation of future growth. That doesn't really give any indication of decline, more about how they're actually using their resources. So that doesn't seem to be a reasonable conclusion. QW has financed a high proportion of its investing activities by utilising its operating cash. So we can see this large outflow here for investing, but actually by the time we get to the net cash flow position, whilst it is a negative, it's nowhere near as big, which does suggest that the company has managed to use resources available within the same period rather than relying on what it already had at the start of the year. So we can see that it has in part been covered by operating but also financing activities. But yes, operating is the major part of that, and so that seems a fairly reasonable conclusion to draw. Before we say yes, that's our answer though, we'll have a look at the other options as well. So the next one is that QW must have made a profit in the year as it has a net cash inflow from operating activities. Now we did just see that there is a net cash inflow from operating of quite a significant amount of cash actually, but by this stage in your studies you will all be fully aware that cash and profit have no direct correlation whatsoever. There will be significant accounting entries that affect profit which don't have any cash impact. And so it's not really that realistic to make the jump from the fact that yes, there's a cash inflow, so there must be a profit. Without further information, we wouldn't really know that. The final one then is that QW must be facing some serious liquidity problems as the cash and cash equivalents have fallen by $60 million throughout the year. This is one of the most commonly misunderstood parts of cash flows really. So when we look at this extract, yes, this isn't a great thing to see that the net cash flow for the year is actually negative. However, rather than concentrating just on what the business has spent or received in the period, really when we're looking at their overall position, these are the figures we're interested in. So yes, the cash available to them has dropped, but at the end of the year they still have significant cash reserves. Now that's not a concern to me. If anything, in actual fact, depending on what their working capital requirements are, that might still be too high an amount of cash to have on hand. So in terms of these statements, that in itself is not a realistic conclusion because I don't see as they're actually facing any kind of liquidity problem. So as we thought, the correct answer is this one here, that the outflow of cash for investing appears to have been financed in a large degree by the cash inflow from operating activities.